us to be here on this afternoon. You know, there are our students here. I see you, I've seen you, and it's important, you know, to get a good education. I can tell you that when I was in seminary, I had an unforgettable professor. This professor, by the name of Dr. Gardner C. Taylor, taught me quite a bit. Now, if you don't know who Dr. Gardner C. Taylor is, you ought to come to know Dr. Gardner C. Taylor. You ought to go and Google Dr. Gardner C. Taylor. You see, Dr. Taylor was a contemporary of Dr. King. They were friends. And so many times when I was sitting in that classroom, Dr. Taylor would talk about Dr. King, but not in the way that we do. You see, he would simply call him Martin because they were friends. On one particular instance, I was there in class, and Dr. Taylor, he assigned this thing where we all had to create a sermon, and we all had to use the same scripture. Now, understand that there were several people in the class, and when it was my turn, I had never written a sermon before, I had never preached a sermon before, but this was the assignment that Dr. Taylor gave to each of us. So when it was my turn there in school, young people, you know how it is in the classroom. You have to stand up before everyone, like many of you did today, and you have to say what you have to say. Well, it was my turn. And I spoke what I had written, and Dr. Taylor looked to me and he said, Telika. I said, yes, Dr. Taylor. He said, would you preach that hell is hot to people in Alaska? Well, as a student standing there, I thought about that question. Would I teach that hell is hot to people in Alaska? And so many of my classmates were shaking their head in this direction. But I said, Dr. Taylor, no. I would not preach that hell is hot to people in Alaska. He said, why is that? I said, because I've never been there, but from what I understand, Alaska is cold. So if I taught or I preached that hell was hot to people in Alaska, they might want to go there. Dr. Taylor said, very good, very good, very good. What Dr. Taylor was trying to teach me and my classmates, my fellow classmates, was that it's important to know your audience. It's important that when you get up to speak before anyone, you have some understanding about the people that you will be speaking to. So when I was preparing this speech today, I thought about you. I thought about the fact that on last year, many of us, we were together at the same time. You see, I had the honor to be your speaker on last year, so I knew something about you. I knew that many of you would partake in a march on this morning. I knew something about you. I knew that many of you have celebrated King Day after King Day. You're not new to this. You know about this. I knew that I would be in the same area, again, among some of the same people. But then there's something that I did not know in 2016 about you. I did not know that many of you in this area would have to deal with a hurricane called Matthew. I did not know that you would bring visions and memories that you have of what this hurricane did to your family and to your businesses. I did not know and still don't know what you really have dealt with here in Edgecombe County and surrounding areas. I understand that you lost your businesses and your crops. Some of your schools and your churches are still not opened. There are things that happened to you in 2016 that you had to bring over into 2017. You could not help the fact that there is baggage that one carries from year to year. Life is like that sometimes. And each year brings with it baggage. But I want to charge us today to consider that although we can't always control the circumstances, when it comes to baggage, we don't always know how to think about how we allow our minds to be shaped by the things that happen to us. Because the fact is, to a degree, we can control our minds. You see, today I wonder, 49 years after Dr. King's assassination, I wonder, are we really free? I wonder what's going on in the collective mind of America and the individual minds even in this room and beyond. Dr. King said, as long as the mind is enslaved, the body can never be free. Psychological freedom, a firm sense of self-esteem, is the most powerful weapon against the long night of physical slavery. So I've mentioned some of the things that you could not help, some of the things that you cannot help. But I wonder on today what you brought with you. What did you bring with you when it comes to your mental condition? At the beginning of the year, many people talk about their physical condition. You know, that we make that New Year's resolution where we're going to work out. We're going to eat right. Many of us are concerned about our physical health. Right. But I want to challenge us to think about our mental health. Because again, Dr. King said, as long as the mind is enslaved, the body can never be free. Health is not just about what you're eating, but it's also about what you're thinking and what you're saying, primarily to yourself. Let me give you an example. Recently, I published a book entitled That Child, Preparing for Challenging Moments with Young People, with Youth. And in that book, in chapter 3, I talk about self-esteem dealing with young people. I talk about how many times when young people are emotional and maybe they have what we call a bad attitude, it may not be something that adults ought to take personally, but they may be dealing with some issues that they do not know how to handle, like low self-esteem. So when we're thinking about being enslaved in the mind, I will not give you an idea of something without giving you some tools by which to use so that if you find your mind in bondage, you can set your own self free. In that chapter, I talk about myself as a little girl. I talk about my own struggle and how my body was not free because my mind was enslaved. You see, Barbie was very important to me. But at the time, the only Barbie that I had, her skin did not look like mine. Her hair did not look like mine. So you see, this Barbie doll that I admired, she was European American. I, African American. She had blonde hair. I, black hair. She had lighter toned skin. I, brown skin. Her face was such a way, it was very different than mine. And so I believed that the standard of beauty was Barbie. So because I did not look like her, for years I struggled. My mind was in bondage because I thought I was the ugliest thing on the planet. Because I did not look like her, and not only that, I did not have a lot of examples of women that looked like me, that made me feel good about myself as a little girl. And so my body was not free. But something happened in my life. I realized that the first thing I needed to focus on was being a good person. Because see, you can be pretty on the outside, but if you're not pretty on the inside, then that's a problem. So the first thing that I learned was to try and be a good person. The next thing that helped me was that I enrolled in Shaw University. And I met a lot of people that looked like me, who were educated, smart people, who taught me how to love myself. And they didn't teach me how to love myself at the expense of hating other people who didn't look like me. They taught me to love everybody. So the first thing that we must do if we are to free our minds is go on a journey for yourself. You see, it's easy to look on the outside at everyone else and what they're doing and what they're not doing and how they're making other people feel, how are you making yourself feel? When you look in the mirror, are you really believing that you were created in the image of God? Or are you listening to negative feedback about how you are? You see, you're too skinny, you're too fat. You're too light, you're too dark. Your hair, it's not right. Your hair is too long, it's too short. People are always trying to define you. What definition have you given to yourself? That is the start. So then I learned that there's nothing wrong with kinky hair. There's nothing wrong with the spread of my nose and the tone of my skin. There's nothing wrong with the fullness of my lips. You see, all men and women are truly created equal. So I gained a firm sense, this firm sense of self-esteem, but I had to be careful. Because you see, gaining a firm sense of self-esteem, Dr. King says that it's a powerful weapon. You see, you have to know how to use it. That's right. Because if I gain a firm sense of self-esteem and then I try to make you feel lower than me, then there's a problem. Dr. King says it's a weapon, and you have to know how to use weapons properly. What if we don't use a weapon properly? There's a lot of young people in here, and I like video games. Any young people like video games? Well, one video game in particular that I've always liked is Mario Brothers. You know Mario Brothers, Super Mario. Now, when I play Mario, I choose Mario. I don't want to be Luigi. I'm Mario. All day long, Mario. So, Mario has a unique set of skills. Particular tools that Mario uses to defeat his enemies. Now you have to know how to use these tools. Just because you have them doesn't mean you know how to use them. But Mario knows. You see, there is the knock-knock shell. You know the shell. There's the punch glove. There's a super hammer. And there's a masher. Now, if you're going to use the knock-knock shell, if you use that weapon, you see, that's to be kicked. You see, you can't run up on King Cooper, right? You can't just run up on him, but you can kick the shell, that's your weapon, and you can defeat him. Now, sometimes you can move a little closer, right, young people, and you can use the punch glove. You know, you just come up on him and you can use the punch glove. It's got knockout power. Then other times with that super hammer, we all know what a hammer is for. And not to mention again, the masher, it makes a monster mash. But you have to know how to use the weapon. So maybe there are those in here today, you feel that your mind is already free. That's good news. So now that you have that weapon of a firm sense of self-esteem, you are entitled, or you are designed to go out and help someone else who does not have a firm sense of self-esteem. So if you got the weapon, you have to use it. You see, we're all responsible for this because Dr. King, he said, we may have all come on different ships, but we're all in the same boat. Amen. So there must be mental progress in America. It has to start individually first, and then it will benefit us collectively. And some may say, well, I can't really fly to those types of levels now. You know, I'm too low. You know, I've been pushed down for so long. I look at the conditions in this country, and I just have no hope. I think about people who are in charge, or those who may become in certain positions, and I just feel so low that I can't fly above all of the things that are happening in this country. I love America, but we still haven't realized the dream, so I cannot fly. But if you feel that way, I want you to remember what Dr. King said. Dr. King said that if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. schools. A liberated mind is what we need in our homes. But I understand the struggle. You know, sometimes working towards freeing our minds from these psychological chains is almost like me on last Monday in the ice. I was in my car and I was going up a hill, and the hill was covered with ice. I thought to myself, if I have to stop at this signal light, I'm not going to make it up that hill. But I know that I need to make progress. I need to move forward because I need to get to where I need to go. But I was there on that hill, and before I knew it, the ice was there and my car was there. Before I knew it, on that ice-covered hill, the light turned red and I had to stop. Well, because I stopped, I was not able to make it up that hill. So I pushed the gas and the car would not go up the hill. And I pushed the gas again and the car would not go up the hill because of the struggle. So I understood my car just didn't have what it took. So what I had to do was turn around. And I had to take another route. But you're not like my car. God has built you stronger than that. You don't have to stop just because there's a little ice in America right now. You don't have to stop just because America is on a hill right now. You don't have to stop because you don't know what's in tomorrow right now. You don't have to give up just because you have to cry. You cry and you keep on moving. You see, progress still has to happen. And there are people who are still dedicated. Dr. King is gone. Rosa Parks is gone. Malcolm X is gone. But you're still here. So because you're still here, there can still be progress. Because you came out this morning, there's still some work to be done. You're dedicated. So don't you turn around now. Don't you get tired because it's a little bit hard. You see, we have to be dedicated to keep it a healthy mind. So 2017, you can't turn around. Just because there's hatred, don't turn around. Just because you're misunderstood, don't turn around. Just because